There's magic around every corner at the Louisiana Renaissance Festival.
We continue with Shane Mack, Livingston Parish Councilman. And before we even get started talking about the drainage millage or the other issues here before the Parish Council where we are now, tell us about what you're wearing, because it seems like every little thing in that outfit, it means something.
It does, Ken. And I want to, first of all, thank you for coming over here to the Livingston Parish Council chambers and giving me the opportunity to speak today. I knew I was going to be on TV, so I wore a specific outfit. This hat right here represents the people of Albany. I love the people of Albany. I'm very proud of this hat. This shirt right here represents the people of Holden, my hometown, where I went to school. I love the people of Holden. This pin right here represents the great country that we live in and the respect that I have for it. I'm very proud to live in a country with the freedoms that we have today. The veterans, the men and women that fought to protect our country and give people like me the opportunity to live in a country with all the freedoms we have. To worship a God. You see this pin right here, Ken? I didn't forget this one. It's the most important thing to me. To worship a God that I love and that loves me. And that loved me so much that he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross to save sinners like me. To give me the opportunity to live forever in heaven. I'm very proud of those things. And I'd also like to say that I love the people of Livingston Parish. And I was extremely happy the day I got elected. All the people that elected me to know that. And I made a lot of promises that day on TV that you interviewed me. Excuse me for getting upset.
No, I'm glad to see it because we need some passion. We need to tell the rest of the world and over the internet or whatever method that people here are still hurting. They still have tremendous challenges from the August flood of last year when 90% of Livingston Parish was underwater, 90%. Now in Puerto Rico and all of these other places, I don't think there's a location in America in which 90% of the homes were underwater. Not that you want to compare us to any other place, but we haven't gotten the publicity we deserve. We haven't gotten the relief that we deserve in Livingston Parish, especially in Livingston Parish.
That is so true, Ken. That is extremely true. And one of the promises that I made was to improve drainage. Now, before we get to that promise and what I'm trying to do to fix some of the problems we have in Livingston Parish, I want to talk about some other promises. Now, one of the promises that I made was I promised to modify some ordinances to make some ordinances more simple for Livingston Parish people to read and follow. And I also promised to make those readily available. And so what we did was after I got elected, we made the ordinances, the Code of Ordinances for Livingston Parish available on the Livingston Parish Council website that you can go to and you can pull those ordinances up and you can follow those rules. Right now, we're trying to recodify those things to where you don't have to go to different parts of the ordinances to find the rule that applies to whatever you're trying to do. We're going to make it more simple and easier for the people of Livingston Parish to understand. And we're working extremely hard for that, and I'm very proud of that, Ken. I had to mention that. And then when I first got elected, we tackled that gravel pit ordinance, and we did a fine job on that. And we did the gun range ordinance, and we made modifications to the minor subdivision ordinance. And there's multiple ordinances that we as a group, the parish council and the committee has worked on to fix. And Ken, one of the things that I promised was the drainage problems, was to work to fix gravity drainage problems that we have in the 9th District and Livingston Parish. I've only been elected a year and a half, and there's a whole lot more that I need to learn. But one of the things that I have came to learn is that we need a gravity drainage district for the east side of Livingston Parish. And I want to explain today and be very informative and state the true facts about why and in the dollar amount that we're asking for, and so the people will have an opportunity to think about what they want to do and to move Livingston Parish forward. Now,
by the way, when you say a drainage district and drainage work, you hear people say, well, nothing could have prevented the August flood. But if you got water in your house, the difference between maybe you got an inch or you got 2 feet. That's all the difference in the world. And then too, what we got last year may be a once-in-a-lifetime event, but it shows the need for drainage work.
Ken, that's exactly right. There is an extreme need for drainage work on the east side of Livingston Parish. Okay, you say the August flood, in the gravity drainage districts, what could you have done to prevent that? Well, to me, the August flood, let's talk about the August flood, that was a flash flood. And a lot of people, we prevented every single individual or a home from flooding or business from flooding. But what we could have done, we can minimize that with a gravity drainage district. And how can you do that? A gravity drainage district will give you a group of individuals. It'll give you an engineer, and they will meet consistently on a monthly basis to develop plans and take the money that's dedicated to improving drainage and work on fixing the drainage problems we have on the east side of Livingston Parish, Ken. There's, you talked to Mr. Wesley, the superintendent over there at Gravity Drainage District 1.
They have a budget already.
They do have a budget. They dedicated funding, okay, for gravity drainage. We don't have that on the east side of Livingston Parish, okay?
So there'll be a crew, there'll be employees that'll be working all the time if the taxes are enacted.
That is true. There will be employees, or there will be a contractor hired by the drainage district to specifically clean out lateral ditches, clean out canals, and to consistently work to improve drainage on the east side of Livingston Parish.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the November ballot, we're talking about 2 drainage districts, correct?
We're talking about 2 drainage districts, Ken. We're talking about south of the interstate, from West Coyell Creek, that area over there, that might not be the exact line, but that'll give you a good idea of that west border. We're talking about all the way to the bottom of Livingston Parish, all the way to Tangipahoa Parish, south of the interstate. We're talking, that is Gravity Drainage District 7, okay? We're asking for a 8 mil property tax, okay? And north of the interstate is gonna be Gravity Drainage District 6. That is a half-cent sales tax. There's 2 taxes north of the interstate. A half-cent sales tax, and there is a 5 mil property tax we're asking for to fund Gravity Drainage District 6. The borders of Gravity Drainage District 6 are the interstate is on the south, is the south border. The east border is Tangipahoa Parish. The north border is St. Helena, and the west border is pretty close to Middle Coyell Creek. Okay, those are big districts. So we needed as much money as we could get to be fair to the people to take care of those problems, okay? And so that's why we're asking for that much money, okay?
So how much is this going to generate?
Good question. Okay, south of the interstate, 8 mil property tax will generate approximately $900,000 a year, okay? North of the interstate, a 5 mil property tax is going to generate about $250,000 a year. The half-cent sales tax north of the interstate will generate about $450,000 a year. That would be a combined of $700,000 a year, and we need that. And Ken,
not to interrupt you, but what amazes me looking at the situation here is that currently the revenue for drainage is 0 and has been 0. So if there's no money at all dedicated to drainage, I don't want to blame the victims, but what do you expect to happen? I mean, if you spent no money on food, you wouldn't be surprised if you were hungry, would you?
That's exactly true, Ken. There is no dedicated funding for drainage on the east side of Livingston Parish like there is in Ascension Parish, like there is in Tangipahoa Parish, like there is on the west side of Livingston Parish. Okay, what we have to take care of drainage on the east side of Livingston Parish is simply out of the general fund. And that goes to all sorts of things.
And it, by the way, is not funded either because the sales tax is dedicated just to roads.
Well, you're right about that. There's a sales tax, Ken, that's dedicated to roads, okay? But some of the problems that we have with our lack of ability to overlay the amount of roads that we feel, when I say we, I mean the people of Livingston Parish, should be overlaying is because that road fund tax some of it is going to gravity drainage on the east side of Livingston Parish, okay? And to me, that dedicated road fund money needs to go for what its intended purpose. We need to put that back into overlaying roads. And if we did that, that would take care of the road problem. Now, we can't do that without the gravity drainage tax, okay? We need the gravity drainage tax, the gravity drainage districts to be funded, take care of drainage. We take that road fund money and strictly dedicate it to overlaying roads and maintaining roads, and then we'll be better off. Ken, let me tell you something. There's a few things I want to make sure I get said today. One of the things that I'm extremely proud of in Livingston Parish is this. That's our school systems. We have our school teachers in Livingston Parish are maybe they should be paid more, but they're some of the highest paid teachers in the state of Louisiana. Why? Because the school board, Livingston Parish School System, has dedicated funding and dedicated resources. They have highly intelligent people, the best of the best, teaching our kids and making sure that our kids get a good education. I'm extremely proud of that, Ken. But they have dedicated funding and dedicated resources to do that. Could they be as good as they are today without that? If they were trying to pull up money out of the general fund and a large, pot of money? No, they could not. I'm gonna tell you something else, Ken. Law enforcement. We got and if you want to live in a safe, happy place, you move to Livingston Parish. Our law enforcement in Livingston Parish is outstanding. I feel safe, at my house and living in Livingston Parish, and it's because we have dedicated funding and we got a great leader and we got dedicated resources for that, Ken. That's the two greatest things about Livingston Parish. Let me also say this. Another great thing about Livingston Parish is we have volunteer fire departments that save the people that we love every day. How can you have such great fire departments in Livingston Parish? It's simple. You got dedicated funding and dedicated resources for that, Ken. They have millages, to fund our fire departments. We got good schools, we got good law enforcement, we got good fire departments to save our people. The next step, what we need to do, Livingston Parish, is we need to establish gravity drainage districts through this entire parish to start working and improving the drainage problems that we have. And that way, we'll have dedicated funding for gravity drainage, and we'll take the road money and give it back where we should dedicate that money to. And a lot of our problems that we're faced with today in Livingston Parish is going to go away. And I think that there is no individual that I have talked to, Ken, in Tangipahoa Parish, in Ascension Parish, and I've talked to a lot of them, west side of Livingston Parish, nobody will argue with me that dedicated funding to gravity drainage is not the answer to fix those drainage problems that we have in Livingston Parish, and that gets back to the promise that I made to improve drainage. The administration, the council, everybody is doing the very best they can with the limited amount of funding that we have to fix the problems that we're faced with, There is no doubt about that. Everybody's doing what they can. But we have to have this dedicated funding and this dedicated resources and the money to make the improvements that we need. And let me say something else about the gravity drainage district, Ken. A lot of people out in my area say that what we need to do is we need to make improvements underneath the railroad track. The Canadian National Railway runs east and west. The water drains north to south, So if we could get rid of that dam we got there, that CN National Railway, making drainage improvements underneath it, we can move that water out faster. You know what? You're right about that. I'm going to say yes. Same way with Florida Boulevard, same way with the interstate, same way with Highway 42. All of those dams, that we have in that area that I represent, we need to make improvements. The single greatest way to make those improvements is to put together a gravity drainage district and develop a plan to work with the Canadian National Railway, to work with the Department of Transportation, to show them our deficiencies, and introduce improvement projects to move the water the way it should be moved. Ken, we need the gravity drainage districts to get involved without a gravity drainage district, they can't get involved. We need a gravity drainage districts to get involved with improving projects over on the east side of Livingston Parish to make sure that their drainage plans for the commercial projects are designed properly to where it doesn't flood our surrounding neighbors. Ken, there are so many reasons why I believe that we need these taxes to pass. It ain't funny. And let me tell you something, Ken. I talked about earlier, and I talked about how much I love those people in Livingston Parish. You think that I don't understand how hard it is to ask the hardworking poor people of Livingston Parish to spend more money to improve drainage? I do understand, Ken. My daddy worked by the sweat of his brow for everything he ever had, okay? My father-in-law, he is a hard-working, he's a Hungarian. He's proud of that. He's from Albany. But he saved every dollar, and every dollar is important to those people out there. And I understand that, okay? We as a council, we as a parish people, we as in Shane Mack would not be asking for this funding if I didn't think it was the answer, Ken. I'm going to tell you something else, Ken. I don't know how long that people are going to watch this video, but let me say this. We need to make drainage improvements to minimize flooding on the east side of Livingston Parish, because we don't want the federal government to come in here and keep changing and keep raising flood elevation requirements. Let me give you an example, Ken. My little brother built a house so he could live out there by us in Livingston Parish in flood zone AE. He told me the other day, he said, "I'm moving." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, excuse me. He said, "My house note is $1,400 and something a month. 500 and something of that goes to pay flood insurance. If I move into flood zone X, my house note's only $800-900 a month. I can save $500 a month. I'm going to find me some property in flood zone X, and I'm going to build me a new house, and I'm going to pay a heck of a lot less money for my house note than people in flood zone AE." I said, "You know what? You're right about that." I said, we want to minimize that. We don't want the federal government to come in here and raise our flood elevations. How can we help ourselves fix some of that problems? We can take care of our own problem, reduce flooding by having a gravity drainage district and an engineer present ideas and improvement projects to clean out our canals, clean out our rivers. Let's take care of our problems. Let's design and build and construct Livingston Parish the way it should be, to where we can keep that type of thing to a minimum. You know what I mean? We don't want all of our flood zone X's in Livingston Parish to turn to flood zone AE and start paying all those high insurance premiums. That was my point, Ken.
Well, if you look at the millages people pay, I mean, it's 10 mills to the library, nothing wrong with libraries, but the recreation districts get relatively high millages. And then you can go down the list, the school board, 3 cents, plus millages that are 45 mills in some areas. I could go down the list, and nothing against any of that, but you get to drainage and the amount is zero. And as far as whatever you can take out of the general fund, that 1 cent sales tax, a big chunk of it goes to the jail, and the other remaining money for roads, most of it's been bonded out already. So there's very little that can go to drainage. And again, if you are spending no money on a problem, can you really expect it to be solved? Hence, we have the horrendous flood of last year, which I suspect will make the next flood even worse, because all of those areas, they've silted up now.
You're right about that, Ken. And I know no other way than to fix the two major problems that we have in Livingston Parish, other than create the gravity drainage districts, dedicate that funding to fix the drainage problems, take that little bit of money that we're currently spending on gravity drainage over here on the east side of Livingston Parish that's coming out the road fund, put it back into the road fund, pay off that loan that we have coming out of the road fund and dedicate a large portion to fixing roads. Ken, there's no doubt in my mind that that's the problem that needs to be fixed, and that's what we need to do as a parish to move this parish forward.
So before we close, I want you to go back because you've covered a lot of ground. Let's once again explain what's on the November 18th ballot, and remember, a large number of people, they're going to vote early, so we don't have long.
That's exactly right, Ken. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted you to come over today. It's time to spread the word, to tell the people of Livingston Parish what needs to happen. Okay, on November the 18th, the people that live north of the interstate, okay, in Gravity Drainage District 6, are going to have two taxes on the ballot. There's going to be a 5 mil property tax, and there's going to be a half-cent sales tax, okay? South of the interstate, the people that live in Gravity Drainage District 7 are going to have an 8 mil property tax for Gravity Drainage Districts to get these things funded, to get these things established, okay? And a lot of work has went into preparing these boards and to get these taxes on the ballot. We started working on this a year ago, Ken, and I didn't realize how long it took to get taxes on the ballot, but it's a lot that goes into this, and a lot of people have volunteered a lot of time to make this happen, to provide us with the opportunity to help ourselves fix the problems we have over on the east side of Livingston Parish. I'm extremely excited about it. You can tell I'm passionate about it, Ken. If I didn't believe in this, I wouldn't be asking for the people to support this. Trust me. And I think this is the answer, and it's going to make Livingston Parish a better place to live.
Court's always in session at the Louisiana Renaissance Festival.